Right, hang on. Moving stuff. There we go. Okay. Talk about the so there's the so this is before the Sparta sword, the long blade, and the original Zen means that he's got the but it's kind of, it's not a soldier military version, it's a decorated, almost leather looking, almost like Roman answer to a Greek linthorax. And it's got the lobster plated shoulder, which is a bit like in the 1600s, funnily enough, showing how it comes full circle. Yeah, and maybe other civilizations had the lobster armor, but in the West, the ancient Rome's probably most famous in the West for it, in the Western world. So the original Zen means the original sword. The systems management, even though the technology got better, the systems management got worse, just like now. So you've got that you know, that again comes full circle in the, say, the English Civil War in the 1600s, and in other countries too. Like Poland, Hussars, they have a sort of lobster style on it in some cases. So it comes full circle in the Civil War and other countries in the 1600s with the lobster style, but I think again these were at least the first widespread ones, the first one where it was very commonly widespread in the Western world, or the most well known in the Western world for that lobster style plating on the HEMA armour. And so you've got your original, it's like going back to basics after everything's gone back to basics, back to zero. Like, let's say you've completed everything on your video game, you wipe the memory card and you'd start again. It's like you've done everything, the energy's stuck, go back to zero. So it's the basic sword, and I don't mean basic in any kind of derogatory way, I just mean the original blade, which again can be very metaphysically advanced because of the Latin calligraphy on the blade, sort of the West's answer to, say, Asian calligraphy on a samurai sword, say the Western equivalent. You can look examples up on internet images on the website search engine of examples of gladii with the Latin inscription with calligraphy on, and so again metaphysically advanced. That the non-physical, spiritual, non-physical world translates into the physical realm, or a union, if you want, like a non-duality in Eastern philosophy, like a non-duality with the, say, the Tao circle has the two halves, but it's one full circle. It might have a coin, say, has two sides, but it's one. It's one full coin, you know. I mean, technically a coin has three because it's got the edge, but you get what I mean. So the original Zen is the original, before the medieval or Dark Age armor, the original armor, the original blade, at least in the Western world, and the L-Gem arena and non-linear north, it was a colony of Rome. This is where the film is shot. It's 100 and 0 foot tall, roughly, and yeah. So in the story, in the film narrative, it's in the Flavian Amphitheatre, aka the Colosseum, in central Italy, the city-state of Rome, in the story. But in real life, as far as I'm understanding, the 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 structure they used, the architectural structure they actually used to do the programming was the L-Gem in North Africa, and yeah, I think it's the biggest surviving one outside. Biggest surviving. I think there was a second biggest, but still standing. It's the, I think. So let's try and delve into this without going too crazy. It means, in a sense, basics, original, like the memory card on the video game. Yeah, in a sense, but it's hard to explain. They were the, because, see, also you've got non-linear. Timing, because obviously in the Dark Ages the technology is worse. The Roman aqueducts, viaducts, sewer systems management, of managing systems, bureaucracy, grain quotas, all these things, systems management, it's all gone down, even though the time of the Dark Ages linearly is actually after antiquity. You see, it's and some people may blame Christianity, and I'm not going to get into that in this video because, you know, and blame that Christianity is Middle Eastern, that it's not Western, and that, you know, that subversively destroyed and etc. And again, I'm not going into that in this video, that's for another day. But this is really difficult to explain. In say in the medieval period in Europe, they use Latin a lot as language for things, even though they're Christian. There's a lot of pagan influence, and a lot of things, so like Dante's Inferno, there's a lot of things that are built upon, because things are like a foundation or a ladder. They don't just go, they don't spring magically, you know. It's like antiquity, and even before that, before Western antiquity, had ancient Egypt and others. So you know, which ancient Greece very much was influenced by ancient Egypt civilization, and probably maybe ancient Egypt by Atlantis, you know, and Hyperborea and all these things. But things are built like a foundation or a ladder. So you don't, you know, you have your basement level, your foundation level, and then you build up it. You don't just, you know, people look at it in a vacuum, like the solo genius myth. You know, things are built upon previous things. So Shakespeare would build upon ancient Greek tragedy, and um, how can I say this? They're not in a vacuum. They don't just magic into existence in a solo format. It's a ladder, or like a house. You've got your foundation level, and then you know, your first level, and then upstairs level, and then attic level, and etc and etc and etc. And it's a progression, but you need that foundation level, that foundation you know, ground level to be able to go up. Otherwise there's no, like a ladder, you need the lower step to have the higher steps, you know. So it's not like the higher steps are better necessarily because they need the lower steps, you know, even if the lower steps are shorter or more basic, or, you know, in the analogy. So you need, this is really hard to explain energy in language. It's sort of metaphysical, and people forgot all the lessons from it. And so again, I mean, the non-linear example and Western time in the Western world, maybe partly because of Christianity. I don't know. But obviously in Eastern philosophy they understand non-linear processes and you know, the non-linear format. But again, in the West, again, I don't know if it's Christianity, if it's what it is, but someone else will know better. Someone else can do a response. But whatever the reason, in the Western world, at least in the modern Western world, it's seen as linear. I don't think that's accurate, but that's the way the myth has to be for whatever reason. But so yeah, the technology and systems management got way deteriorated. So actually, in terms of technology, it wasn't linear, even though the linear time was higher afterwards, you know. But they squandered it basically because they had pound for pound such advanced technology. They squandered it and got corrupted, just like possibly Atlantis. I need to say possibly because I haven't done as much research as is required to make a definite, you know, statement, or a semi-definite statement at least. But it does tend to happen with too much privilege that people go start reading bonkers and just destroy themselves. And of course they're one of the best examples in the Western world. And of course there's external attacks, external factors, external politicians scheming, but the internal corruption was, again, I'll say in my autistic opinion. So, in my autistic opinion, I would say that the internal corruption severity was so heavy, weighty, hardcore, dense, high density. That's what did it. And now I know again you can have arguments about Christianity, about subversion, about Christianity being a Middle Eastern religion, about barbarians, about politicians from other nationalities, that with all these things. But again, I'm going to say that the internal corruption was the most severe. And if you watch Rome, HBO, and others of that ilk, you will see, and books and things, and yeah, too much privilege, and it drove them bonkers. But and then nobody learnt. So now, when everyone's doing the extensions, the cars, the ignoring everyone, ignoring the Western poverty, ignoring the Western poor, doing the greediness, they're in essentially behaving like the modern Romans with the aqueducts, the viaducts, the sewer systems, which were all great things, but again, too much technology and privilege just drove people bonkers, and they couldn't handle it, and too much yin, you see, too much yin, and too much, and yeah, it's hard to explain, but like a vitamin imbalance, an overdose, and in it, an imbalance of it, an unhealthy overdose, if you like, on the yin, on the soft, on the too much technology, and this is the same now. The sad thing is, and again, I'm sure modern sheeple, the brain power isn't there, but the people, but as we've done in other videos, plebs don't learn that they won't, that it's took, that after over 2,000 years that they're still behaving like that is I suppose they'll just always be that way, I think. But anyway, so let's just talk. Let's just try and keep on track here. So the original Zen is about the non, so it's not full armor, it's torso armor. Okay, so it's like a t-shirt armor, if you want to call it. This is all HEMA armor, Western armor, WMA. Western martial arts, but don't worry, I'll complain about all people in a minute. I love to do that, but the Western martial arts, so or HEMA, if you want to call HEMA, okay, so Western martial arts, aka HEMA, and the t-shirt armor. I'm using the, anyway, whatever, style, t-shirt style is going back to the basic, going back to the original, and it comes full circle with modern warfare in 1600 because maybe of agility and you need to be able to move out the way, or because of bulletproofing, and the bulletproofing means it's so heavy that a full armor won't work. But whatever the reason, metaphysically, it's disguised as an external practical reason, but metaphysically it's come full circle. And then in the 1800s with the French lifeguards, and then later on the English Victorian with the breastplate, the sort of vest, torso armour, the cuirass, and the helmet with the sort of horsehair. Again, antiquity and pagan metaphysics come in full circle. But and also the fireman's helmet with the sort of fish Merlot style resurrection. Again, that energy coming full circle. You see, that, if you like, pagan energy. But anyway, so it just means sort of, it doesn't mean back to basics, but it means that the most Zen, it means like basic oneness, not too clogged of energy. There's a word. So it's like you've got, again, not in a derogatory way, but you've got a basic sword, by which I mean basic. I try and pair it with the word um, original, the first style, okay, because it represents the, maybe in the early empire, the good virtues that got corrupted, degraded, and decayed, and ended up in the toilet, but originally were good with honor, valor, soul. You know, these things, not just this base materialistic, capitalistic, you know, profit, selling out your own people kind of thing. But again, these metaphysical values, and so that one really, even though it's technologically higher, advanced, it's actually, this represents the more of the whole, the over the like an all-rounder, the all-round points. Even though that specific sword was higher technology than that one, the overall points of the civilization were better with this, when this blade went into existence, than this one. So at least in principle, at least in theory, you know. So the it's about, yeah, it's very metaphysical, and it's very I suppose non-distraction, going back to non-distraction. So you have one primary style of blade. There are many sub-styles, but let's say one big basic design, one general design with lots of sub offshoots, but one major design. And then this armour, which again comes full circle, and then even in the modern military, you've got your sort of vest, but I'm not so much talking about the sleeveless type, I'm talking more about the t-shirt type. But you've got your arm, and you've got your sword, your original sword, your original armour, and then the Elgem Marina, with Western architecture, original Western architecture, if you like, is sort of almost like a combining of the basic and the advanced. So the arena, in a sense, would be sort of the advanced technology, pound for pound of the time, and then the armour and the sword is like a sort of, because it's a short sword, and and the armour is before full suit of armour. So it's, again, it's original, it's the first style, it's Zen, it's oneness, it's again, human language doesn't do it justice. If it's coming out all garbled and gobbledygook, it's because, again, human language can't explain, because this is an energy explanation, not a language explanation. So to explain human language, it's not an adequate tool. It's like trying to hammer in a screw, you know, instead of trying to, you know, drive the screw in with a screwdriver. It's the wrong tools are being used for the job, and so in this case the wrong tools being human language instead of energy. So I suppose telepathy and psychicness would be a better communication than human language, but all I've got, I'm afraid, is human language. So maybe one person out there one day will see it and understand it. It's about, I can't really explain, but it's just about going back to the original before all the energy's clogged, and there's no it's I suppose also about learning from mistakes, and about before the collapse, in a sense, when there was metaphysical values, and maybe the Zen style represents those on some level. Definitely, if you look at that film poster from the Gladiator movie 2000, and the poster shows him with the sort of the leather skirting on the Hema armor, and the torso plate armor, and the the sword in hand, and then in the background the North African Colosseum, the Elgin Arena, and yes, very metaphysical, and then the designs of this sort of maybe Pegasus almost on the armor, it is again very metaphysical, sort of representation. It's like the non-physical being represented in the physical realm, but the um, this is hard. The it's the human language problem again. You say, the, how can I'm going to sum this up as strong as I can, because to just make it as least confusing as possible, as understandable as possible, is to say it's all about. Yes, it's in a sense stripping away of distractions of too many, say the later on like a video game, too many clogged up energies, of just going back to that original, and then you can start building upon it again. Again, you can have different sub-styles. You can have the Hispanensis style sword. You can have the Mainz style, the Fulham, the Pompeii, and then any other unrecorded blades that you know of Gladius, that unrecorded, that maybe got lost in translation, that so you can start building up again the different sub-styles, even with the Zen, even with the very original primary style. Like in Gladiator Arena, you could have, say, lance, spear, javelin, staff, trident, dagger, proto cutlass, so a seeker, or proto saber, seeker, or a seeker, say a curved gladius, and there's images you can look up. So it's a proto saber. It's a sort of, it's the grandfather of the modern sword saber in HEMA, if you like, the great grandfather. But within the one you can build many, because you can create subsystems, or say if you within the one you can. It's hard to explain, but it again, like a foundation to a house. But you strip back, and also you see how, in a sense, I'm not going to say people, but how modern society or modern civilization forgot all this, and how that's really kind of insane to forget that. And then obviously now with all the people with the extensions and the 4 cars and the driving all this stuff, and allowing poor people, while they have all this stuff, is a repetition of that. And again, sorry to say, but I suppose plebs will be plebs, and maybe that's what happens when plebs have money. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. But right, I've got about 3-4. It's about. Okay. I've got an idea to compare it to. It's about purity, going back to the original. So again, even though this sword is more advanced technologically than this, metaphysically, because of the representations of honor, valor, etc., and it's still a fantastic sword, and the calligraphy is incredible on it. And I think again, I choose this one over that one. I know people think I'm being daft or stupid or whatever, or that one's the more primitive one. I choose it because of the metaphysical values, again, at least on theory, on paper, that it's meant to represent, of honor, valor, soul, all these things, right? So it's like the colour white in say a Tai Chi uniform or a karate suit. It's the white and the purity, and also say in the Indians and the Chinese at funerals wear white, and obviously to reflect the negative energy that may attack. That's one aspect of it, but I think that's maybe. I don't think there's just a one size fits all answer to that. There is also the purity factor of it. So, because so say in the West in weddings to wear white, and why in the West they wear black. I know people say because Greco-Rome wore black togas for their funerals, and so the modern West, that's the reason why modern Westerners wear black at funerals. Yes, maybe, yes, maybe, but and then it creates the yin and yang. If the East wears white at funerals and the West wear black, then it creates yin and yang. But the negative energy attack. I'm not as advanced as Sad H Guru on that subject, so I'm not gonna say a definite I know when I'm the expert on it. I'm not. So I won't really get into that. I'll just say it represents purity, you know, and that's what I'm trying to get at here, and stripping down, and also it represents unamnesia, it represents like showing the architectural advancement technology pound for pound of the time, you know, how it is you know, yeah, so